Shalom Aleichem, Rav Geldworth. Shalom Aleichem.
How are you, Rav Shlomo? How are you?
Baruch Hashem. So, betrifft sich in gute Plätze.
Ja. Freiliche Chanukah, alles gut.
Yeah. Okay, cool too. So is Tavis. Maybe you're Ritva in the dorm that I have. If they don't have that, so stay. It's not important. Okay, Shkoyach, and I'm sorry for the delay. And Zois Chanukah is we have a chance to get together. We're still tied to the Pesume Nisa without the tear of having to get to places to light the Neres Chanukah tonight. And I'm just, I'll go straight to the Shtickle Torah at the end. We'll try to say a little bit Divrei Agoda. And I'd like to thank Yedidi, Reb Shlomo Kadisman, for keeps with a tenacity, keeps spearheading these gewaldic venues of Heichatimtzes, of Harbotzes HaTorah. So, well, just again, he told me that the Sugya Dekala is the Gemara Mesechtes HBrachos Daf Lamed Hey Amid Beis. And there's a Gemara that tells us a tremendous machloikis, which is from the Yesodis of Yiddishkeit, about Vasafta Digonecha. The machloikis, the monumental machloikis of Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Shmuel. And let's see the Gemara. And Rabbi Shmuel Bayachoy. And Rabbi Shmuel holds Yasik B'derech Eretz. Even though the Torah says, Lo yomu shatayra v'gisa b'yomim v'layla. However, there's still a halacha that a person is supposed to go out and do what he has to do b'derech eretz. He has to make parnosa. Parenthetically, there's as a quip, there's a famous Tosfos that brings a Yerushalmi in Masechtas Pesachim. That Tosfos talks about that a person brings a Yerushalmi, that a person, the day that you bring a carbon, you're not allowed to do malacha. So the Gemara talks about Erev Pesach, Bokem Shenagu, it's an Isser D'Oraisa. The day you bring a carbon, that day is Asr B'Malacha. So the Gemara talks about, the Yerushalmi talks about, well, every single day, a Yid, I'm not sure what you were talking about when I came in, every single day a person has to bring a carbon tamid. He's part of the ownership of the carbon tamid that's brought in the Beis HaMikdash. So a person should not be able to, Zakti Yerushalmi, a person should never be able to work because every day he's a Bala carbon of the carbon tamid. So the Yerushalmi says it's true. Really, legally, Jews should not be able to work. The only reason they're able to work is because there's a Gzeres HaKosuv, v'yosafto digonecha, that you have to make parnosa. As Izok Tosfos, b'shem Yerushalmi. So really, even without this Gemara of V'gisa b'yom v'layla, the Yerushalmi says because you bring a carbon, break the Shagas Aryeh. The Tamid Shel Shachar, you could only bring till 12 o'clock, Chatzos. The Tamid Shel Bein Arbayim, you could begin bringing from approximately 1 o'clock. Frek the Shagas Aryeh Akasha. So you should, what's the Gemara's kasha? Maybe you're really not allowed to work. You're only allowed to work from 12 to 1. So what do you need? You could work from 12 to 1. So when I saw this Shagas Aryeh, I said, I don't know if the Shagas Aryeh ever worked. Because how could you narrow down your work from 12 to 1? So I once asked it to somebody, he said, well, if the Jews would work from 12 to 1, that would be the business day. That would automatically create the business day from 12 to 1. But you see that the Gemara uses, the Yerushalmi uses this Gzeres HaKosuv of Yosafto Digonecha. Masha'en Kein, if Shimon Bayachoy argues. Shimon Bayachoy says, no, you can't. So therefore, it's not true. The Gisa B'yom V'layla overpowers the Yasik B'derech Eretz. So Mela Zok Shimon Bayachoy, that would be the din. So Harbi also Rabbi Shmuel, and they were matzliach, but not like Rabbi Shimon Bayachoy. It's a whole tumult about it. But I have a basic question. We know that the halacha is, by all mitzvahs, a person doesn't have to give away more than a chaimish min chasav. 1/5 of your earning to get a pair of tefillin. 1/5 of your earning to get a mezuzah. That's a halacha. And it's halacha in Shulchan Aruch. For a mitzvah say a person is not obligated to give away more than 1/5 of his earnings. There's a famous tshuva for Reb Moshe. Reb Moshe Nigris Moshe was approached by somebody who was offered a job, and he had a job, and then he was told he can't wear his yarmulke while he has his job. So to Reb Moshe, the person wanted to know, does he have to quit? Does he have to resign, give up his job? Reb Moshe said, giving up your parnasa and your livelihood is definitely as stringent as the halacha of chaimish min achosov. Just Reb Moshe declares almost a lumdish shaila, and he says, is wearing a yarmulke a mitzvah asay minig derabanan, or is not wearing a yarmulke an isser to walk without a yarmulke? Moshe is analyzing what the din of wearing a yarmulke is. Is it a proactive din to wear a yarmulke, or is it a prohibitive act to live without a yarmulke? So Moshe says the nafkamina would be chaimish min achosov, because on the halacha of doing a mitzvah, so for that you have to give away at most the chaimish min achosov, but more than that you don't have to. And giving away your parnasa is giving away at least chaimish min achosov. So Moshe, but if it's an isser, the halacha is even on an isser d'Rabbanan, you have to give away kol memoinai. And kol memoinai is a halacha on, and Allah says you have to give away all your assets and all your ability to work. So that's what Moshe's shaila. But I see one thing: giving up livelihood and not being able to support yourself and your family is at least as good as giving away a chaimish min achosov. So if it's giving away a chaimish min achosov, so what's the Gemara? The Gemara says we need exeris hakosov after ganecha. Why do you have to learn? You have to learn because it's a mitzvah. If someone has a mitzvah, he has to learn. That's the mitzvah. It's not more than a mitzvah. So it's a mitzvah. If it's a mitzvah, a person doesn't have to give away more than a chaimish min achosov. So what's the basis of the Gemara's kasha? The Gemara has a shaila Reb Shmuel and Reb Shimon Yochai. Does a person have to work? Does he have to learn a whole day and not be moiksik b'derech eretz?
All the time.
So it's exeris hakosov. So it's exeris hakosov that should tell us any mitzvah. A mitzvah she'oimid lefanecha, you got to wear tefillin. The Torah says wear tefillin, and the Torah still says that if you don't have tefillin, the only way to get tefillin is chaimish min achosov. So I would say over here that Torah is worth more than a chaimish min achosov. We'd have to say yes. For some reason, the Gemara held Torah is more than chaimish min achosov. So therefore, the halacha would be that you would have to. We'd have to see why. The truth is, it's one of the most famous Gemaras in Shas. We know Hillel came home and he earned a trepik. That was his earning for the year, for the week. I don't know exactly what the breakup of his salary was, but he earned a trepik. He used to go change the trepik by the change maker, and then he would give half of the trepik to his wife for expenses, and half he would pay to go into the besmedrash. Half is more than chaimish. And it's a Fereshim Gemara, he gave it away. If he gave it away, so it should have been halacha, he's giving away more than chaimish min achosov. This question is asked by the Lakutei Halachos, and the Chafetz Chaim asked this question. And it's also the Balatanya and the Geras HaTshuva asked the kasha. Why were you able to give away more than a chaimish min achosov? I see it's not a kasha from Hillel. It's a kasha from our Gemara, Vasavta Gonecha. What is the Gemara, Vasavta Gonecha? What do you need exeris hakosov? You're giving away more. Happens to be that the Balatanya says a teretz nifla. That's hard to understand. I mean, it's not hard to understand. It's a tremendous enlightenment about mahalach hachayim. The Alter Rebbe asks in Geras HaTshuva, chaimish min achosov. How much does a person give away to support his wife and family? He gives away a chaimish, he gives away 99.9% of his earnings to support his family, to get food, to do what he has to. How's he giving away more than a chaimish min chosef? So to Galatanya, mitzvahs, you don't give away more than a chaimish min chosef. Life, yeah, that's life. You got to support your life. You got to eat, you got to drink, you got to support your family. So for mitzvahs Torah, you only have to give away a chaimish. The tshuva from Torah, that's life. Life, you got to give it away. You gotta, that's what it takes to live. That's what he answers. Sounds like Volozhin, but that's what he says. He says it in a little bit of a different shrach, but a different language. In his language, that's what he says. So therefore, it would be that maybe that's the pshat in the Gemara. The Gemara read of a lo yomush sefer Torah azayis v'gisa b'yom v'layla. So the Gemara is saying lo yomush Torah, it's a prescription on life, and in life you have to give away more. That's for some of the emes of why for Torah there would have been a person gives away, even more. I was thinking ulai boifan achar to be mazbeh the Gemara. What's the basis of the Gemara's vasafto de gonecha? There should have been the rule, the regular standing rule of this halacha of chaimish min chosef. Well, I say like this. We know when it comes to, we just finished Hanukkah, so we know, we just finished the London of Hanukkah, now we're entering into something else. That we know the halach is, Hanukkah is also an exception to the rule. The rule is, chaimish min chosef, that's what you have to do for a mitzvah. So if you don't have money for a mitzvah and only you have to give away your last few dollars, you don't have to give it away. It's clearly the halach in Shulchan Aruch. Ner Chanuk is afilu miglima dal kaspoin. A person has to give away the shirt off his back to be makaya mitzvahs ner Chanukah. And the reason is, we learn it out from Dalit Kaises, a Gemara in Perek Ave Psachim, that the Gemara says, because it's presumei nisa, it's odif, and a person has to give away kol memoinai. He has to even be machzor al psachim. I'll just tell you as an aside, in Sefer Talmud Dikra from our own Reb Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal, it's brought that he asked his father, Rabbi Yashiv Zatzal, what happens if somebody is keeping a piggy bank to save up to buy or rent a house, and he keeps saving money, but right now he's living in the street. He's living on a park bench, but he's being very tenacious, and he's saving up money. And now it comes Hanukkah, so he has $5,000, and it's a real crunch time where he lives to rent an apartment. It's going to cost him the whole $5,000 to rent for a week the apartment. So Chaim Kanievsky asked Shver Rabbi Yashiv, does he have to spend all his money?
Get an apartment to have a bias to light.
To get a bias to light. Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky looks like in his heart held not. He held that you don't have to. I don't have it. I don't have a house. He says, V'omar li mayri chami. No, you have to rent the house or buy a house and use every last penny. Because you have to give away more than chaimish min chosef to be makayim the mitzvah of ner Chanukah. Why not? Well, Rabbi Yashiv's right. I am a chuyev to light ner Chanukah. You're an honest. You're always an honest. Chaimish min chosef. You have $5,000. Go buy a house. Or go rent a house. And Mamela, you'd have to go do it. Reb Chaim Kanievsky held it's lacking in the chiyuv almost. If I don't have a house, it's lacking in chiyuv. Mashen came according to Rabbi Yashiv, you're obligated, which is really a Taisis in Masechta Sukkah. Taisis asks, why do you have to have a birchas haroya? Why would a chazal masakin a birchas haroya? There's a lot of mitzvahs. You see someone putting on tefillin, taking a lulav, you don't make a brach. So Taisis, no, maybe it's because there are noshim she'ein lohem batim. There are people who don't have homes, and they're going to be locked out of the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah. So Tosfos, that's where the Chazal, from their goodness, were masakin a mitzvah of birchos haroya. Fake Tosfos, I don't like that, Terence, because the kosher made mezuzah. Every time you saw a mezuzah, they should have been masakin that you see a mezuzah, you should make a bracha. What's the dinim of Tosfos? Mezuzah, if you don't have a house, you're not obligated. Chanukah, if I don't have a house, I am obligated. It's just I'm lacking the needs. I'm lacking the material that I need in order to be mekayim the mitzvah. Seems that these two days in Tosfos are the machlokes Rebbe Yashiv and Chaim Kanievsky. Happens to me, parenthetically, I asked, why did Rebbe Yashiv need you to buy a house or rent a house? Knock on a door, ask somebody if you could sleep on the floor in his house and you could be an achsanoi. An achsanoi is mishtata bepriti. Then you'll just give a priti. First of all, Rebbe Yashiv, that you have to buy a house. I have option B. Option B is just do achsanoi.
Zera did it.
Reb Zera did it. So I said a chiddush gadol that achsanoi, your makaya may be the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah, but you don't have the full presumei nisa, which maybe we'll speak about after. And therefore, maybe not. So then it'll come out of chiddush gadol. If someone's an achsanoi like Reb Zera, he would be obligated to try to make himself not an achsanoi, which is hard to believe.
Go back home.
Or rent a house, or buy a house. Oh, but Al Kaponim, we see how far Chanukah goes. A person is obligated for more than a chaimish minachas. Why is that so? Shabbos, for Kiddush, you don't have to give away all your money. Only a chaimish to get wine for Kiddush. And Chanukah, you have to give away kol mamoinai. Which was a bigger miracle? That there was oil that stayed lit for 8 days? There was supposed to be one, that's a miracle. Or Brias Shamayim Baritz in the whole universe, with all the Brias and with everything, the wonderful Bria that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made, which is a big ness. And you're telling me, Zeichel HaRav, you don't have to give away. That's not presuming Nisa. Mashen Kain, this is presuming Nisa. Like Davnei Neza, it doesn't seem right. Why would you have to do the presuming Nisa of Chanukah? Would push away this din and not the other din. So he says something which I want to compare to a different Davnei Neza. What's the aside? Why? What happens when you don't have to do a mitzvah? It seems that the Chachamim were being too lenient. Doing a mitzvah is gewaldig in the world. We live for mitzvahs. The world was created to do mitzvahs. So, I always like to say, people say, I come from Chassidim, Amshana, Vorka Chassidim, and technically, we don't eat in the Sukkah Shmei Atzeres. We end up eating, the world changed, whatever. But they don't eat in the Sukkah. So my God is always telling people used to say, it was cold in Poland and in Russia, so that's what they will make about Shmini Atzeres. So my father always tells me over, people who say that never met a chassid. They never really met a chassid. A chassid is gonna not eat in the Sukkah because it's hard. The going gets tough, the tough get going. I mean, that's life. That's exactly what we do. So you're going to tell me because it was hard, they were lenient on Sukkah? That's missing the point. The harder it gets, the more we get revved up. So that's not the reason. Obviously, there must have been a lochadik reason. The Chazal was so lenient on us, on Chaimish Menachasov, to give up a mitzvah. Doesn't seem in the scale. Doesn't seem right. You know what the Avnei Neza says? Avnei Neza says, I have to tell you something. No one is giving up any mitzvahs. Kol hanenas v'loikayim mitzvah is ki'ilu asa. Whoever was nenas and tried to do a mitzvah and couldn't do it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, it's as if you did it. Gemara is all over Shas. So Avnei Neza, the Chazal figured out a quirk, how to do it, eat it, have your cake and eat it too. they said, we're going to tell you, you don't have to do the mitzvah now. We don't want you to do the mitzvah. The Chazal tell you, I don't want you to do the mitzvah because it's chaimish min chasam. We don't want you to do it. I want to do it with my whole heart. So I'm saying, I'm sorry. We right now, we're making a din. We don't want you to do it. So you're a nanas, v'lo kaya mitzvah. So what do you have? You did the mitzvah. When you come at the junction of a chaimish min chasam and you can't do the mitzvah, you know what you're doing? You're doing the mitzvah. You're doing the mitzvah in a passive way because you were told you can't do the mitzvah. So you're being nanas, v'lo kayim. So since you're being nanas, v'lo kayim, then it's ki'ilu asa. So you're doing the mitzvah, albeit in a different way. How are you doing it? You're doing it because of the principle of kol hanenas v'lo kayim. So you didn't give up the mitzvah. They created a different lane how to do the mitzvah. And you're doing the mitzvah through kol hanenas v'lo kayim. So I want to add like this. That's true. It's true you're doing the mitzvah. But let me ask you if there's another facet to the mitzvah that someone else has to get from the mitzvah. Example, Persume Nisa. When I have to light the Ner Chanukah, how do I have to light the Ner Chanukah? I have to light the Ner Chanukah that somebody else should also see it. It's true, Kol Hanenas V'lo Kayim is Ki'ilu Asa. But the other person, the recipient, doesn't get from that. I get merited with a mitzvah, but the party B doesn't get. Why doesn't he get it? Because he's not getting it. If I created a new way to do the mitzvah, from Kol Hanenas V'lo Kayim, that's true, you were Makayim the mitzvah. But the other person can have from the mitzvah.
Not 100% complete mitzvah
No, it's 100% the complete mitzvah.
for one side.
For one, yeah, it's a mitzvah. Fakir would be. Since the basis of the mitzvah is Persume Nisa, that's the reason there's no din of chaimish min chasam on Persume Nisa. The reason there's no din on Persume Nisa chaimish min chasam is because of this inyan, of the other person receiving from the mitzvah. Ooh, if the other person has to receive from the mitzvah, that he can't have. If he can't have it, so therefore the halacha would be, there's no din of chaimish min chasam. Imkain is very good. It's zeichel HaRav making kiddush. But kiddush is a mitzvah between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm making a zeichel HaRav by making kiddush. Of course that's kabbalic. Of course it's a much bigger ness. But it's not Persume Nisa. It's not a Persume Nisa that's tied to somebody else. And therefore the halacha would be that the rule of chaimish min chasam would not apply when it comes to the din of Persume Nisa of Ner Chanukah. I happen to want to say it's a Chiddush Gadol V'Neira. A person, Rebbe Lezer, used to be sick a quarter of his life because of Dalat Kaisis. He had a kashin. He had a yisait. The Yerushalmi says, and it's quoted in Shulchan Aruch, he would drink wine, either he had some sort of sulfite allergy or an alcohol sensitivity, and he would drink wine, and it says, from Pesach till the summer, he had a tremendous koyev reish. Why? Because he drank the Dalat Kaisis. Is a person has to, it wasn't deathly ill, but it was painful. So in the realm of his life's events, Dalat Kaisis was knocking him back 3 or 4 months of his life every single year. That's a third or fourth of his life. So he was bedridden, or at least bothered by it for a third or fourth of his life. Pray the Mishnah Berurah, chaimish min chasam. Would a person not give away a fifth of his life's earning not to be sick for a quarter of his life? Of course he would. You know, there was a tshuv in the Avnei Nezer There was a child who was born, had a bent foot, and he was going to be crippled. The doctors at the time said that if they bend his foot back and they put him in a body cast for 2 years, he'll be cured and he'll be able to walk normally. If not, he'll be crippled. Avnezer writes, I don't believe the doctors. You have to ask other opinions. But he says, if given as the doctors, the person asked him, but he won't be able to have a meal of his money. Is he allowed to do that to the child? Sagt Avnezer, how much would a person give away from his life's earnings not to be a cripple for his whole life? He would definitely give away 1/5 of his life's earnings. Sagt Avnezer. So therefore, of course, you're allowed to do it. That means an unbelievable chiddush. It's a slippery slope. It's like torts law that he's saying you have to figure out how much of a person would give away not to have that impediment. So Mela Zakt Avnezer, that goes into Chaimish Min Chasav. So Rebbe Lezer with his mind, with everything that he did, he would not give away a Chaimish Min Chasav not to have that headache. Obviously he would. But still, why by here it's not like that? By Dalka. The teretz is because Dalit Kaisis is like Chanukah. And when you drink Dalit Kaisis, I guess it goes into Vigada Talavincha. It goes into that Sipu Yitzias Mitzrayim. So it's something that impacts other people. On that, you wouldn't be able to have the din of Chaimish Min Chasav. Since you wouldn't be able to have the halacha of Chaimish Min Chasav, so therefore there would be the din. I just asked the question. I understand we don't, Mitzvah Shem will have another Yachakal before Pesach, but the Briskerov tells us two dinim and Dalal Kaisis. And one of the dinim and Dalal Kaisis is the Shtia, and one is the Allah Kais. I would venture to say that Pesume Nisa is the Allah Kais, not the drinking. So you could be Yaitza from somebody else, possibly, or you could drink Shah, Chamar, Medina, but that's for a separate shmooze, which we'd have to explain why the Mishnah Berurah asked the question. Palkaponim, we see that when something is tied to somebody else, there's no halacha of there's no such halacha of chaimish min chasav. So like this. The first Mishnah, the famous Mishnah in Peah. The Mishnah makes a list of dvarim that are bein adam lechaveroi. So it says hapeya, habikurim, and a whole list. Say it in the morning, happens to be the nusach that we say in the morning is not totally in the Mishnah. And what do we always say at the end of that Mishnah? The Talmud Torah, Hinekit Kulam. Look up the Pirush HaMishnayos. You know what the Pirush HaMishnayos says? Limud HaTorah is bein adam l'chaveroi. Besides that, it's bein adam l'makim. It's bein adam l'chaveroi. When you learn Torah, it's not only about you and the Eibishter. It's about you and the world. The world experiencing that there are people learning Torah. And that's why Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam is comparable to Peyem Bikurim. It's in the Pirush HaMishnah of the Rambam in Masechta Peyem. So it comes out that Torah is not only about you, it's about the vibes that are put into the world. That's what Talmud Torah is. So what was our question? The rule of Talmud Torah, the rule of Chaimish Min Chasav should apply to Vasafta Digonecha. Like the Gemara doesn't apply. Does it apply? Does it not apply? It's Rabbi Yishmael. So the Gemara, we asked the question, why should it not apply? Giving away more than Chaimish Min Chasav. The Teretz says it would be Kol Anenas V'Loi Kayim is Kilo Asa. Oh, it'd be Kol Anenas V'Loi Kayim is Kilo Asa. Oh, but the Welt will nicht gehabt kein Talmud Torah. The Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. Everybody having for it would not have been experienced. Oh, if it wouldn't have been experienced, then the rule of Chaimish Min Chasav wouldn't apply. So the Gemara has to come up with a new rule. And you know what the rule is? V'yasafto digonecha. Why is Vasafta Ganecha strong? You'd have to say Vasafta Ganecha. That's a kiyum of Torah. The Gemara is not only saying it's a tour of Torah, Rabbi Shmuel holds. Hachsek b'derech eretz. You have to live and learn the Torah. Umamelo b'asavto diganecha is all part and parcel of the big picture of limud Torah. So it's not the pshat, it's an oinus and you do it. Rabbi Shmuel holds a lichatchila. That's the way the Torah was given. If the Torah was given that way, so it's not a p'tur of oinus. It's a kiyum from Torah. So and that'll be maybe the machlekes of Shem Ba'achai Rabbi Shmuel. So I want to say a gewaldige yisod. Someone makes a shvua to learn. He's in a mood. He said, I'm going to learn a whole day. But there's a famous Gemara, Masechtas Nedorim, Daf Ches. The Gemara has a shaila, you can't make a neder. You're mush b'vayim at Ma'al Sinai. Because you got to learn every second. You're mush b'vayim Ma'al Sinai. So the Rishonim asked the kasha without the Gemara. How could the Gemara talk about making a shvua? Well, you're mush b'vayim Ma'al Sinai. You're not mush b'vayim Ma'al Sinai. So the Ritva says a teretz. The Ritva says a gewaldige teretz. Zok the Ritva. You can't learn. Steht doch v'yasafto diganecha. And a person says, even though there's a v'yasafto diganecha, I'm going to make a shvua. So I have a p'tur. So I don't have to learn the whole time. Because I have a p'tur of v'yasafto diganecha. Zok the Ritva. So for that, you're not mush b'vayim with Marasi. So I wanted to compare that to a question. Every time a person makes a shvua, I'm going to take an esrig. This is a very sharp question. I want to ask this question. It's a very important question. The Gemara says the shvua, we had it in the Daf HaYomi, is not a good shvua because you mush b'vayim ma'asinai to take an esrig. So you can't make a shvua to take an esrig. You're already obligated because of a shvua. So I want to ask you a question. For a lav, you have to give away kol mamayna, all your money. For an asay of esrig, you only have to give away 1/20th, 1/5 of your earnings. A person wouldn't make a shvua, and he only has $1,000. He can't maybe buy a lulav and esrig. I don't know, whatever the price would be. And he's not obligated, he's potter. But now he made a shvua. If he doesn't take the lulav and esrig, what's the din? If you don't take the lulav and esrig, it's yoiver a lav of lo yachal dvarei. Yoiver a lav, you have to give away kol mamayna. Why are you telling me a mush b'vayim Ma'al Sinai? My shvua is giving me more. It's giving me responsibility to take more than a chaimish minachos. So why don't you say that? What? No, but I'm a nedas. So the shvua, why are you saying you're mush b'vayim Ma'al Sinai? You're not mush b'vayim Ma'al Sinai. You have the halacha of chaimish minachos, which bothers you because of the shvua you don't have. The teretz is you're obligated, maybe even more than chaimish. You're always obligated. There's a p'tur of chaimish minachos. So if there's a p'tur, you can't call yourself not a mush b'vayim Ma'al Sinai. Maybe according to what we said, you wouldn't be able to say that. But what would be v'asafto diganecha? Are you really mush b'vayim to do v'asafto, not do v'asafto diganecha? Or the Torah is giving you a prescription how to live? The way we're learning, that's why you would not be able to say like the Ritvos there. It's another Rishonim don't answer it. And they say, V'asafto diganecha is a prescription how to learn. And it's a prescription how to learn Torah. So Mamela, it's not a p'tur of oinus. It might possibly be a way how to live and learn the Torah. So Mamela, you're mush b'vayim to do it in that way. So if you're mush b'vayim to do it in that way, so maybe that's why the other Rishonim would not answer like the Ritva. So just to chazer over, we began with the Gemara, that the Gemara speaks about why, what you have to do for Torah. So it says it has to be v'asafto diganecha, even though really you should learn Torah full time. So we asked the question, why is it different than all other mitzvahs, where the halacha is chaimish minachasim? The Torah says it's not we were magdim with the shaila, it has to do with Chanukah. Why Chanukah, you give away more than a chaimish minachasim? The Torah says you give away more than a chaimish minachasim because of Pesumei Nisa. But what's the rationale for that? Why would Pesumei Nisa have more of the din? The teretz is, we wanted to say, because really there's a din of kol hanenas v'leikayim, is kilu asa. But the Gemara says that it's not kilu asa. We wanted to say it's only kilu asa, but it's not kilu asa in regards to somebody else. In Cain, if that's true, so then we said maybe that would apply also dalet kaisis. We said the chiluk of dalet kaisis. And then we're saying maybe the din of Torah would have that din. So then the Gemara's teretz pas after the gonecha is not a ptur. And therefore that's what would be this halach. Just fair ice. What is Pesume Nisa? We see Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a zman. It's a zman and all this. It's chinuch. It's really like a re-beginning. It's supposed to begin after Hanukkah. It's a chinuch. Chinuch denotes that we have to go on. We have to do something with it. Chinuch, when you mechanech a child, you have to be mechanech him, and then he gets up on his own feet. You know, tomorrow morning, come to shul, and we say tachnam. The shayla is a Perish Gemara, Mesechus Rosh Hashanah, Daf Yud Ches, Megillas Tainus. The days after also have a din of Isser Hesped v'Tainus. So why should they not be so many minig chassidim? They don't say tachnam, but the normative rule is we do say tachnam. So why is that? I think there's a very big yisoid. The yisoid of Hanukkah is we pick ourselves up in the middle of Vachadikateg, weekdays. I was in Bobov last night, and the Rebbe was giving l'chaim on, it's called med. They take honey and they turn it into like a type of a wine made from bees' honey. So somebody, they asked me, why is the minig in Bobov that Hanukkah, the last day Hanukkah, they drink med, and the Rebbe makes a l'chaim. I said, I think it was a minig by Chassidim not to drink wine in the Vachadikateg of Hanukkah, because they wanted to denote it's a weekday yontif. It's not a yontif. There's no bus of the iron. What? Oh, that's right. So they're taking that. They don't take whiskey. Who's drinking in the middle of the week like that whiskey at night? So the thing is, they take med. They made it like a type of a wine, a honey wine. It's not raisin. No, it's shahakal. They made a big announcement. Berchosu shahakal. It's bedafka wine, shahakal dika wine called med. Mem ayin dalet. Oh, it's a minig. That sounds a minig. I said, because Chanukah is avochadik yontif. And we're combining weekday mundane with the kedusha, the holiness of Chanukah. And that's what we're transitioning to the regular days. Tomorrow, Zukman Tachnun. And we're holding on, regular day, to the kedusha of Chanukah. That's what we're doing. That's the aside of Chanukah. That's the chinuch of Chanukah. In the Vasafta Digonecha, there's no Issa Malacha. We take out Kedusha. One of the last times I was by, years before, I went to a Yachikala, and I took Chevra from my Olam together, and we went to my Rebbe of David Soloveitchik. So we talked in learning. He asked a lot of questions. I was learning, one of the Chevra who were with me was a very loud guy, and he said, Tachlis Rosh Hashiva, we're going home, we're a bunch of Balabatim from New York. What's the Rosh Hashiva telling us? He said it to me in Yiddish. So he suddenly got like serious. And Reb David looked at us and he said, B'chol drochecha de'eyu. B'chol drochecha de'eyu. He said it twice. That you should just know wherever you are, you're a Ben Torah. You're taking along your Ben Torah kite. And that's the Yisod, that's the chinuch of Chanukah. That's the Basafto Digonecha of Chanukah. I once heard from Rabbi Michal Shork in Shlita. He said he was at a HBrachos with Reb Leib Malins itself. And someone got up to speak. And someone said that the Gemara Shteit Rabbi Yochanan Sandler used to be Miyachid Yichudim when he was making Sandlim. So the Gemara says Miyachid Yichudim. The speaker before said, Miyachid Yichudim means he was having hoicha machshavas. He was being masakin things by when he was making the Yachid Yichudim. And then Reb Leib got up and he said, Reb Yisrael Salanta gesagt, that what he was doing is with each stitch, he was saying, I'm an erlicha shoemaker. I'm going to make good shoes. He was being miyachid yichudim to make good shoes. And then Reb Leib said, "Un ich sag." You know what he was saying? I'm making shoes. I'm making sure they're going to be good shoes. I'm going to make sure that they're going to be comfortable shoes. But you know what? Ich will nicht werden kein Schuster. I will refuse to become a shoemaker. Ich bin a ben Torah. With every stitch he was saying, I'm making good shoes. I'm doing my job honestly. Aber ich will nicht kein Schuster. Ich bleib a ben Torah. That's the b'chol drochecho de'eyu. Of course, we have to be basafto digonecha. Of course, we have to do like Rabbi Shmuel. Of course, we have to do that. But we have to have the chinuch of Chanukah. We have to have the chinuch that we take it along with us. We take the Chanukah, and in the life, in the outside, we can't get schlepped along. It's not enough to be a little better than the street, because the street keeps going so down. If we'll be a little better, we'll be all the way on the ground. We have to be in our own circle, in our own lives, to be able to lift ourselves up, to be real B'nai Torah. We have to be B'nai Torah, Begidim V'atzamas. We have to let it into our hearts. That's what I think is the Chaimish Menachasav. You have to give away Kol Mamoinai, like we said over from the Alter Rebbe and Balatanya, that we have to give away whatever we can, whatever we can. We understand this Mahalach HaChayim of Limud HaTorah. It's for the whole Welt. It's Ben Adam L'Chaveira, it's Ben Adam L'Makim. Shalom B'Zeicha, B'Suris Taivis, Yeshivas V'Nachos.